So, Assalamualaikum and good day. Basically, this is our first video lecture on our midterm coverage. To give you the overview, this topic, equivalent systems of forces, has something to do with the effects of forces on a body, on a structure, or on an object. Okay? So, kung titingnan natin sa general sense, yung discussion na ito is dito natin pag-uusapan yung epekto ng forces sa isang body. At the same time, dito din natin ma-encounter or dito din natin i-introduce yung sinasabing moment sa field of engineering, okay? And I want you to give the heads up. I wanted to give you the heads up na that moment or these forces will play a very, very crucial part in your higher major, okay? So, I want you to pay attention to all these discussions, okay? But before anything else, class, before anything else, I want you to make sure that you have downloaded the file that I have posted or that I have uploaded, because that will also serve as your outline when I am discussing this lecture. Because kung anong nandito sa PowerPoint is just i-summarize nung nasa what is this handouts ninyo. Okay? So again, make sure na download ninyo at the same time. I highly encourage that you have printed that one, okay, for a better picture or clearer view of my discussion. So at the same time, advance heads up ko lang, make sure that whenever you have misunderstood something in this discussion, paki-comment lang sa comment section, tapos make sure that you have indicated your full name. Okay? So, to start, yun nga yung sabi ko, in this discussion, we will be talking lots of things about forces. But before we talk about forces, let's first discuss kung ano yung two types of forces that is under this lecture, under the field of engineering. Okay? Basically, we have this first force, the external force. Ano nga ba yung sinasabi natin forces? Refer lang to please refer to your notes. External force represent the action of other bodies in the rigid body under consideration. They are entirely responsible for the external behavior of the rigid body. They will also either cause it to move or ensure that it remains at rest. Okay, so to give you the clearer view, to give you the clearer description ng isang external force, let's consider this truck. Okay? So, imagine niyo, imagine this truck being pulled, or sa truck na ito is may naka-attach na rope na hinihila ng tatlong taong ito. Okay? So, this is the truck. As you can see, we have discussed this. I know na-discuss na ninyo ito sa what is this? Sa general physics ninyo. When we draw the free body diagram of this truck, as you can see, the FBD, kung i-draw natin yung FBD ng truck na ito, ano ba yung nag-exist na reactions dito? Forces. Okay. Yung nga, sa general physics ninyo, as we all know, lahat ng bagay ay may weight. So obviously, this truck also has its own weight acting at the center of its gravity, right? Okay, yung truck na ito ay may weight. At the same time, yung sabi natin, or sa general physics natin, sa physics natin, whenever there is this object, every time na may object na naka-attach or nakadikit sa isang surface, example this one, yung wheel is nakadikit sa surface, right? Meaning to say is kapag minidikit ko sa isang bagay, kapag yung isang object ay nakadikit sa isang surface, it creates reaction. So meaning to say, this wheel at saka yung surface na ito, meaning to say yung road na ito, creates reaction. Okay, we denote reaction 1 at saka reaction 2 because both of these wheels are actually being attached or connected to this road. At the same time, these three, itong tatlong taong ito, they are pulling this rope. Okay? Gumamit nila ng rope. So meaning to say, when they are pulling the rope, it also creates force. Okay? The pulling force. So basically, yung sinasabi nating external force ay itong forces na nag-react or ditong forces na nag-embody sa shock na yan. Okay? So yan yung tinatawag natin external forces. So ano na naman yung internal force? Ano yung internal force, class? So basically, let's consider this beam. Okay? Let's consider this simple beam. Identifyan nyo kung ano ito, reactions yan. Basically, di ba? Yan na hinge, yan na roller. As we all know, so hinge na, duwat yung reaction. Along Y, let's say this is A, and this is B. Di ba? As we all know, saya na terunta na siyayaw. So as we all know, sa hinge na dua reaction yan. So reaction niyan along X, ago reaction niyan along Y, right? Pero on the other hand, so roller na adbua, isa a reaction yan, which is BY, or let's say RB. Kasi nada BX yan. As you can see, gia AX, AY, ago gia RB, gina na external forces. So, may discuss na kaya gina na external forces. Pero, if we are to cut this beam in the center, igirapitol tanong gia beam sa loob. Oh, for example, papay na saya. For example, napitol tanong sa point C. For example, napitol tanong sa point C. Okay. Ito yung A, ito yung C. Okay? We have this AY, tsaka mayroong AX dito. Again, itong dalawa yung external forces. Yung ibig sabihin sa internal forces is yung nasa loob ng isang system or nasa loob ng isang object or structure. So, since pinutol natin yung beam sa point C, it also creates forces CY at saka CX. This is downward actually to create equilibrium. So CX at saka CY. So as you can see, whenever you cut this sa point C, kahit dito, or dito, it creates these two forces. So ito yung tinatawag nating internal force. And these two na naman, these two are actually the external forces. Sabi to? Okay, yan actually yung two types of forces. So, the external force, ayun yung FBD, R1, R2, yung weight ng shock, at saka yung pulling force created by these three people. Tapos yung internal force, yung kanina nga discuss natin. So let's proceed with the principle of transmissibility. I believe during our prelim lecture, I have actually introduced to you kung ano yung sinasabi nating principle of transmissibility. So, considering this figure, this is actually the what is this representation of transmissibility. Okay, so considering this figure, again refer to your notes o para is equal to considering this figure. Okay, for example, we have this line of action for a certain force. Considering may isang body tayo, identical body ayo, identical figure tapos we have this line of action for the force. Parallel to each other. Okay? Diagonso, line of force. So, sa literal na principle of transmissibility, for example, sa isang body, nandito yung force, okay? Nandito yung force. Nasa point na yan, nandyan yung F1. Pero, sa another body, sa ika-2 body tanong, kung nandito yung force natin, F1, F F prime, for example, sa principle of transmissibility, ang gusto lang i-highlight dito is F is equal to F prime. So long as these two forces are actually acting at the same line of action, meaning to say gia line, so long as gia ko na dual forces na nag-act sa dalawang line of action. Tapos they are both parallel. Okay? So, kahit saan dito mag-act yung force. Kahit dito. So long as they are both parallel or they are both in the same line of action. I have to ng line of action na gina na blue o gia blue. Guess the line of action. Okay? So long as nandyan lang yung force na yan, equal yung dalawang forces na yan. So yan yung concept of principle of transmissibility. So next one is the moment of a force about a point. So ito yung sinasabi natin, no? Ito yung sinasabi natin moment. So dito na magsisimula yung moment. Okay. Moment is the turning effect of a force applied to a rotational system of a distance, at a distance from the axis of rotation. The moment is equal to the magnitude of the force multiplied by the perpendicular distance between its line of action and the axis of rotation. So, first, let's consider yung first statement na yan. So, consider muna natin yung statement na yan. Yung sabi nga doon is, where was that? The moment of a force is the physical quantity that measures the tendency of the force to rotate an object about an axis. So, moment ko na, pag kailan ko sa measurement o kabagar o force, kagaganian mag-rotate so object about an axis. For example, tirintagi a bolt. Gina-bolt tayo. Tapos nandito yung what is this? Screwdriver? No. Let's say this is the bolt. Tapos, yeso. Okay. Kinasubol to. Kisubol. So, as you can see, di ba? Kisubkip tanon, no? So, if you are to idealize or if you are to imagine, nandito yung force. Kisubkip tanon, meaning to sinasiseso, force. Okay? Siseso force. Tapos, di ba gisubkirotate to? Gisubkirotate, gisaya. So, if you are to take a look at that, nandito yung moment natin. Tapos, yung nasa hanas ninyo, moment is equal to force times the perpendicular distance, right? It's the force times perpendicular distance. If you were to take a look at this, sige subkapatan, so meaning kasi nandito yung force natin. Ito yung force. So kung hahanapin natin yung moment na nabuo dito, o mabanugin tayo sa moment na miyakuan saya, miyabuo saya, it's about the force, so value of force, times the perpendicular distance of that point. So perpendicular distance ko nagya point up to this force. So meaning to sinagiya. Gipag minon. Okay? So this is the perpendicular distance. So yan actually yung concept ng moment. Again, moment is the physical quantity that measures the tendency of the force to rotate an object about an axis. Gito ko sa tendency, gito ko sa kabagro force, rotate yan sa object about an axis. Anda na kita pag mina-axis sa gia figure, gia saya, okay? So gia force upcutting riyan kung gia bolt saya with respect to this axis and of course, my perpendicular distance. So yan yung concept behind moment. Again, moment is equal to force times the perpendicular distance. So, okay. Let's take a look at these examples. For each case illustrated in figures below, determine the moment of the force about point O. So, say na pag-identify tanong kon, so moment up ka-determine, meaning to say na kabuo sa point O. Giyaw. Nanako na yung moment up kabuo sa point O, igira na force sa giya 100 Newton at the same time na sa giya 50 Newtons. Okay? Let's use the camera para makontan. Okay. Let's consider problem number 1. As you can see in your handouts, my five problems dyan, right? Pero yung business lang natin is yung first 2. Okay? So considering this one, that body, di ba? Diakon with okay, this is point O, right? So as you can see, my 100 may 100 Newton dyan. May 100 Newton dito. Tapos dito is 2 meters, right? So yung sinasabi dyan is identify the return or determine dyan natin yung moment na mabubuo dito sa point O. Meaning to say na dito yung moment natin, right? Okay, ito yung hinahanap natin, moment at point O. Basically guys, if you have to locate the moment, all we need to do is to multiply the force times the perpendicular distance. So moment again is equal to force times distance, right? So with this given, with this illustrated figure, we have the value of force equal to 100 Newton times, this is the force. So this is the point O. Dito yung i-analyze natin na moment. Ano yung force? It's the 100 Newton times the perpendicular distance. Yung force times so perpendicular distance. What is that? It's the 2 meters. Class, pakilabas yung calculator. Again, whenever I am solving problems, make sure na you are also with you. You also have your calculator with you. Okay? So 100 times 2 obviously is 200 Newton times meter. Okay, so this is the value for the first problem. So, as you can see, yung unit ng moment natin is Newton times meter. Example mano. For example, at na matatago saya another force. Let's say 50 Newton. For example, ana 50 Newton saya. How do we solve that one? Obviously na, ipag-plus tanos kanyang buo. Plus 50 times 2 meters. Okay? Yan ikisuwa yan. So meaning to say na, kisuwa gya kung tano, kisuwa gya problem tano na, muluya, 200 plus 100 is equal to 300 Newton times meter. Nagigits to? Okay. So yan yung concept behind the moment. Next problem is this figure. Considering this diagram. Okay. Considering that diagram at point O. So, sinasabi dyan is may force tayo dito na. May force dyan na 50 Newton. Tapos, this one has a distance of 2 meters hanggang dito. 2 meters to. Tapos, yung distance nito up to here is 0.75 meters. So again, yung i-identify natin is yung moment daw dito. Yung moment na mabubuo at point O. Okay? Moment at O. So basically, Again, formula ng moment at O is equal to force times the perpendicular distance, right? So, nandito yung 50 Newton natin. Nandito yung force natin. Tapos, dito tayo mag-identify. So, as you can see, the 50 Newton tends to rotate at point O clockwise, right? So, 50 Newton, yun yung force natin. Ano yung perpendicular distance? Is it the 2 meters or 0.75 meters? With respect sa O, tunay distance na, no? Tunay distance na, no? So, 2 meters or 0.75. Obviously, sinasabi doon is, di ba, so, ayaw pag-analyze na moment na sa point O. Tunay perpendicular distance yan, siko, force. It's the 0.75, right? So, 50 Newton times 0.75 meters, right? So, 50 times 0.75, calculator, times 0.75, it's 37.5 Newton times meter. Okay? Siya buto to. Again, ay tanong pag-analyze na moment, nasa iko sa point O. Tapos, tunay force tanong, di ba, 15 Newton? Tapos, if pag-analyze na no to, 15 Newton, tunay epekto niyan, tunay moment yan sa O, na ito na yung pag-multiply distance na 0.75. Right? Diya mano, isa concept. Di ba may line niyo, gia-sign saya na clockwise. So meaning to say, assumption tano tanong din tano, isa dapat tatanong din a concept sa moment. As you can see, clockwise ay as much as we can, isulat natin dito yung sign convention. Kung ano yung rotation ng moment natin. Why? Because as you can see, kung ano yung rotation ng moment natin, is yun yung assumption natin na lahat ng clockwise is positive, tapos lahat ng counterclockwise is negative. Sa akin, kung ako yung tatanungin, always na assumption ko is lahat ng clockwise is positive. Okay? So this one, for example, this one is clockwise. So, as you can see, so 15 Newton, with respect sa point O, di ba gini, if tuludian saya, if may tuludian na ayan yan create rotation na clockwise, right? So, if that's the case, if clockwise ka niya na positive, right? Positive, so, full memory. Clockwise, right? If clockwise ka yan, meaning to say na positive. Para may ito better picture. Example, tanong na add na 10 Newton saya. Add na 10 Newton sa ano? Add na 10 Newton sa ano? As you can see, di ba gia 15 Newton na with respect sa point O. Di ba na clockwise ka niyan, di na tulod gia 15 Newton na tulod saya. Tulod dia na yan na 50 Newton which is clockwise. So it is positive. Di man na 10 Newton with respect sa point O. Di ko na 10 Newton na tulod ro, di ba? Tulod. If tulod ro na, di ko so ayan. So meaning to say na counterclockwise. Nagiging to? Counterclockwise ayan. If that is counterclockwise, meaning to say it is minus. Di ba? Kasi na-oppose sa sign convention tano. It's 10 Newton times yung perpendicular distance, which is the 0.75 meters. So, if magiging tanong, ay answer yan na 50 times 0.75 minus 10 times 0.75. It's 30. Okay? Ayan yan kung value na 30 Newton times meter. Sabi ko to, as much as we can, let's say, mag-assume tayo na. So, clockwise, lao na clockwise a force. Lao na clockwise a force na dito so, mga positive forces tano. Positive moment. Na lao na counterclockwise na negative. Example na, 15 Newton with respect sa point O, na if tingra na, diba, clockwise, clockwise. Ito, nakataon naman na clockwise, so, ay clockwise na clockwise. As opposite yan, nagina ni counterclockwise. Nagis ito, so clock. Meaning to say, di ba so clock, paglibot yan, nagina ni clockwise. As opposite na counterclockwise. Di ba? Counterclockwise. Ayan niya mo sa clockwise. Ayan niya mo pagbis na so clock. If kulibugan nga si rotation na. So again, Si 15 Newton daw is magka-create ng clockwise motion kay point O. So, positive, plus ka yan. Si 10 Newton man na magka-create ng counterclockwise motion kay point O. So, meaning to siya negatives ka yan. Okay? Again, another example. Oh. Sabihin natin na this one is actually sabihin natin na that point, sa point din na ito is mayroon tayo ditong 100 Newton. Okay? Meron tayo ng 100 Newton sa O. Tapos, i-analyze natin is ano daw yung moment sa point O. Example ba yun? So, yung sabi ko kanina, assumption natin is clockwise yung moment natin at point O. So, meaning to say na pag minsaya, nalangon na clockwise a moment na positive. Nalangon counterclockwise na negative. Okay? So, at point O. So, 15 Newton. Yung na 15 Newton na, sayang magalipat, diba? So, meaning to say na clockwise saya. If clockwise saya na positive, diba? 15 Newton times perpendicular distance, which is the 0.75 meters. Ilan tanong? Giya man na 100 Newton na, ito na, clockwise o counterclockwise? Sa point O, nagyan na 100 Newton. As you can see, di ba giya na, saya, magalibot saya, di ba? Magalibot saya. If magalibot saan, if magalibot saan, meaning to say na, counterclockwise, right? Since assumption natin is lahat ng clockwise is positive, at saka lahat ng counterclockwise is negative, meaning to say, itong 100 Newton is actually negative, right? Nakakup up ano? Times 0.75 meters. 0.75 ka niyan kasi na same buso katataguan ni Rano. Same busiran. So, ilan tanong na? So, 50 paki-calculate times 0.75 minus 100 times 0.75. As you can see, negative. Ang answer natin is negative. Answer natin is negative 37.5. Right? It's negative 37.5 Newton times Newton meter. So, what does it mean, class? As you can see, negative yung answer natin. Meaning to say, ibig sabihin yan, yung assumption natin is mali. Okay? Yung solution, correct na yung solution natin. Pero assumption lang tayo nagkamali. Meaning to say, itong force na ito, 100 Newton at saka 50 Newton, ang final reaction or ang final moment natin is actually moment at O is equal to 37.5 Newton times meter. That is, di ba clockwise ay this time, counterclockwise kanya din. So, ito yung correct na sense natin. Meaning to say, assumption tanong kay Gia, di ba clockwise? Nayabis correct na counterclockwise. Meaning to say, now Gia force sa 100 Newton, ako 50 Newton, nasisan, Gia moment tanong sa actually, Gia na, nabay gini kaptinger yan. Kaptinger yan na, Gia pura kaptinger yan. Nagets yun to? Okay? So, if you have any more questions, please, again, ask in the comment section and always indicate your name or your full name. Okay? So, again, aya concept sa moment na sukon so force na tuna ko ni effect of force sa iko point mapaka-rotate yan dito object. Example like yo 15 Newton. Na tuna ko ni effect o 15 Newton sa point O. Tunay ka bagiro kapag alipit yan, kapag rotate yan sa point O. Okay? Yung kanina yung example natin, yung 15 Newton lang, yung nakita natin is kapag may 15 Newton dito, ano yung mangyayari sa point O daw? As you can see, if nandyan yung 15 Newton, ang mangyayari sa point O is pag-rotate kung yan sa clockwise. Diba? Clockwise. Pero, if merong 100 Newton dito, pag-oppose, ay kuso ayan na, nabad na yung pag-rotate sa clockwise. Kuso ayan na, pag-rotate tayo sa counterclockwise. Nagets na, no? So, I will be cutting this video muna dito. Tapos, i-continue ko sa next video. Okay? For me to save memory. So, again, if you have any more questions, please comment in the comment section below.